So the Vivid cards have come out, and we have found out that Stussy, in fact, is a normal Devil Fruit user. She is a Zoan Devil Fruit user and has the ability of the Bat Fruit. Now, I did guess this. I was a tinge off in the nature of the fruit. I never thought that it was going to be a mythical fruit. I thought that was ridiculous because I know we have a mythical bat fruit in one of the video games, One Piece Red World, I believe, with Patrick Redfield. So I knew it was never going to be a mythical fruit. That seemed ridiculous to me. However, I did think it was going to be a vampire bat like the animal. And based on how Stussy acts and the fruit literally being called the bat fruit, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yeah, her fruit is a vampire bat specifically, which makes a lot of sense because those are the most famous bats. So with that being said, your boy did call it. I'm calling that a dub because I originally thought it was going to be a vampire bat, but an artificial Devil Fruit of a vampire bat. But I was always in the ballpark of it being the normal animal and nothing else. And you should watch that video where I describe all of what I thought based on what happens in the anime when her Devil Fruit appears there. So it's a good video. I think you should watch it. Now, do I still think that her Devil Fruit is the Devil Fruit that we see in the cover story of chapter 1072? Yes, because I think it's too deliberate to show Caesar holding a Devil Fruit in the chapter in which Stussy's nature as a clone is revealed and she is revealed to be a Devil Fruit user. I think that's too on the nose to just be a coincidence. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, much like, say, the Snake Fruit model Yamato no Orochi, I think the art is going to be changed in the future wherever the Devil Fruit art shows up. So that could be in a One Piece magazine issue. It could be in a future SBS. It could be in a future Vivid card. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that I think that is her fruit that Caesar Clown is holding. It's too coincidental not to mean anything. So, on that note, in chapter 169, we are introduced to the Bird Fruit model Falcon. And Pell, the holder of said fruit, says, "You're lucky to see this. Only 5 flying Devil Fruits are known to exist." The translation differs a bit depending on where you're reading, but the idea is that there are only 5 flying powers in the One Piece world. And after some thought, and I've done some videos on this in the past, mostly discussing when Strongest Fruit was revealed, but based on some further thinking and some discussions I have had on the Rose Skull podcast and in my own video discussing the big news that has just been released recently about Oda's 10 questions and the SBS and the Vivid cards and all that, I think this still holds weight, and Stussy's fruit, the bat fruit, is actually the 5th and the final flying Devil Fruit. Let me explain. So, in the years that One Piece has existed after this statement said by Pell, many people have joked about this being untrue, but I think you have to look a little deeper than the surface level of the statement. You see, when Pell says this, he is referring to the ability of flight specifically, meaning when you look at a Zoan Devil Fruit that turns you into an animal that is capable of flight, flight in that power set is one of the primary abilities because it is indicative of the nature of the animal. We know falcons can fly. We know that a Pegasus is known for flying. Therefore, when we're talking about those specific fruits, their ability is flying. Now you may be asking, well, that still doesn't matter because there's more than 5 of them. Yes and no, because from the beginning, way back in chapter 136, actually, so this is all within the Alabasta saga, starting from Whiskey Peak, Indian Alabasta. So in chapter 136, we are in the Drum Island arc. and we are introduced to the name of Dalton's devil fruit. His devil fruit is called the Ox fruit model bison. So from the start of Zoan fruits being a concept in the series, because this is the first time a Zoan fruit is actually named verbatim in the series, we know that Oda has had the idea that Zoan fruits will be categorized differently from the other devil fruits, because you have the animal first and then the specific type of animal it is. So in this case, Dalton is a cow, he is an ox, but he specifically is a bison. So in the way that Zoan fruits are categorized, you can say that the type of fruit is more important than the model. That's the reason why I say Luffy is the way he is and how he's treated in the series, because the reason why he can't transform until he goes into Gear 5th is because awakenings are treated differently, and perhaps a human, very specifically, cannot transform when they have eaten a human fruit, because there's no form to go into. You are what you ate. So there's nothing to become. You simply are in that way. Now, things have been a little wacky when it comes to an animal eating the same type of animal that they are, because in an anime episode fairly recently, we do see that Stronger is able to recede his Pegasus wings back into himself. So I'm not too sure about that or how the logistics work out when an animal eats the same type of animal fruit that they are, but maybe that was an anime mistake and we'll see how that pans out in the future. But with that being said, the point of what I'm saying is that based on all the fruits that give the ability to fly out the box, we only have 5. If you categorize all these fruits by their animal and not by the specific model. So I think the reason why the Zoan fruits specifically are named in this way is because, one, you can now put several different types of animals under one umbrella if they're closely related to one another, which simplifies in a way how you categorize different types of fruits. So all the different types of dogs are under the umbrella of the dog fruit. All the different types of bugs are under the umbrella of the bug fruit. At least that's what I'm getting to. So with keeping that in mind, when we're talking about devil fruit families that give out the power of flight specifically, there would be only 5. Those being the bird fruit. So everything from Pell to Marco is under this family, this umbrella. So this is a known devil fruit collection that gives the power of flight. Then the bug fruit family, as we've had 2 bug fruits, the giant hornet and the rhinoceros beetle, that give the power of flight as a basic ability. Then we have, oddly, the horse fruit family because of Stronger's fruit, the mythical Zoan fruit, the horse fruit model Pegasus. So the horse fruit does give the power of flight, and now there are 2 fruits in that family. We have the normal horse fruit and the mythical horse fruit model Pegasus. So that's 3. The 4th one would be the dragon fruits, because of course we have King's fruit, the dragon fruit model Petrodon, because he is the only member in the entirety of the Beast Pirates who has the primary ability to fly. So with that being said, that's 4. That leads us to Stussy's fruit, which is the bat fruit. Of course, all bats can fly. That's a distinct ability of bats. So with that being said, To recap, we have horse, bird, bug, dragon, and bat, all able possibly to give the power of flight. The power of flight exists within the various models under the umbrellas of these 5 fruit types. That is the point of saying that there are only 5 flying devil fruits, because they're all categorized in that particular way. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room, or rather the rooster, I guess. Shiki. I'm fully aware that in chapter 530, Sengoku refers to Shiki as the flying pirate. However, even though his abilities are explained in the 10th One Piece movie, One Piece Strong World, I do believe what is explained in the movie is going to be recontextualized or explained again in the manga whenever Shiki shows up properly in the current timeline. I don't think anything that is explained in the movie is going to change for the manga. So all the movie feats that he is able to pull off are going to be canonical. So when concerning the situation in which his powers are explained, Shiki during the film actually comes down to the Sunny to thank Nami and the others for warning him about the incoming cyclone. When he comes down, Luffy questions him about his ship, saying, "Hey, old man, how is that thing floating?" Shiki, looking up at his ship, says, "Oh, that's the result of my float fruit powers." He then goes on to explain, "I can negate the gravitational pull of things. I touch and have full control over them." Then when he is asked if he can use the same effect on people, he says no. Other than himself, he cannot make other people float, nor animals or any living beings. With that being said, did you know that there is a distinct difference and definition that separates levitation from flying? Levitation is the act of floating in the air, while flying is the act of moving through the air. Levitation is also defined as the act of defying gravity and floating in the air. Flying is then described as the act of moving through the air, which is achieved by creating an upward force on an object that's greater than the force of gravity pulling it down. So with that being said, despite Shiki being called the flying pirate, and despite him having the ability to fly in a way, his abilities are specifically levitation, as he describes them as such. The description of his abilities fall in line pretty neatly with the classical definition of levitation. Therefore, he is not flying, he is levitating. This makes sense too when you think back to the 5 flying devil fruits that I've mentioned. All of those powers give their users wings that allow them to force themselves through the air. So, in One Piece, there is a distinct difference between the floating fruit and the 5 flying devil fruits. With that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede What?